Greetings, dear ones. Very good morning. I know it's early morning here in India, close to 5:30 a.m. and I am in Tiruvannamalai, and that's the reason I'm live early morning. Just arrived to the room, and the train was on dot time. And this is the zone of being, then doing. So I just put this post of mine about being and doing, and that's what I would like to little more emphasize on. So I leave back this recording for you to know what's it's all about, and contemplate a little more deeper, because our whole journey is from doing to being. But I could see a little resistance when I posted this, and I just want to clarify on that. Not even clarify, just deepen it a little bit so that we have a proper understanding of this doing and being. I am right now in a zone of being. This place, this geographical location also is all about being. What is being? Being is your true nature, the stillness, the soul nature. And if you see Arunachala, the mountain, represents only one thing: stillness, Nischalta. It's firm. Arunachala is firm and still, it doesn't move. That's the Tattva. This is Nischala Tattva. So, we are going to have this retreat now here, another 2 days. On first we have retreat with the Westerners here. There are close to about a dozen or lesser than that, 10 to 12 of them who are all Westerners. So they requested one day of session here, so one full day session we are going to have with them and go deeper into the Ramana Tattva. They are all devotees of Ramana, which is what I am told. They are sadhus and devotees of Ramana Ashram, settled down from the Western world. So it's nice to be among them because they already know the Ramana Tattva. It's easier. But I am also talking and addressing to a world which has not yet settled down in the being, and it's a little difficult for them to understand the being, because we are living in a zone of doing. We are doers. That's what's called the Karta. And it took a lot of time for me also to realize this, coming back again and again to Tiruvannamalai, Arunachala, and Bhagavan Ramana's tattvas are so beautiful, one by one, layer by layer. This has deepened my journey, and I've close to even, I don't claim, but close to even understood what is this being and the Nischala Tattva. So Adi Shankaracharya very beautifully told about this journey, how through proper understanding and being aligned with the truth or with the people of truth, whoever it may be, the sages, like I am taking the satsang of Ramana. So being in satsang with Ramana, who is a being, who is more in the being, he is a man of silence. He was always a man of silence when in the physical body. And right now also when he is not in the physical body, his being can be experienced here. So the Nischala Tattvam which is there, it can be experienced here. And that is what our journey is all here about. And I am more interested into going deeper into the being and the self than anything else. And I know the people who are connected here to me or these pages that I am inspired to run are also people who are aligned to their being, or even maybe even attempting to align to that being. And that's a beautiful news, dear ones, because it is only in the being that you can go towards self-realization. There is a big myth that doing a lot of things you can go towards. It's impossible. I am open to discussions on all this if anybody wants to. Actually, I would like to know how by doing you can get into self-realization, because you spent years of studying this tattva, experimenting it with my understanding and my practices, and I have concluded, because I have been a doer all my life. I have been doing this and that, a lot of things, and you get nowhere doing. It only boosts the ego of doership, and it boosts the ego consciousness or the body consciousness, which is what has to be annihilated in self-realization. So it's very conflicting statements. These both are completely opposite, and that is why I am putting Bhagavan Nityananda so many posts. If you are seeing in the groups, you will see that all these mighty beings are not in favor of doership. They are not in favor of outward direction approach. Because when you are outward, Bahidrishti or Bahimukhi, you will only go into the doing. And Antardrishti or Antarmukhi, inward journey, is always about going towards the being. And these are two opposites. Bhagavan Nityananda very clearly says, either you go completely out, completely in. There is no two-way. These are like day and night, he says, opposites. And whoever is running out towards the world, go get this, go get that, this desire, always fulfillment of success, relationship, health, well-being, and family, and money, and abundance, and prosperity. This is straight towards samsara, which Bhagavan Nityananda calls as the forest road. So Bhagavan says, leave the forest road and catch the royal road. The royal road is the opposite journey inward, which has nothing to do with these tattvas. It's very confusing, because I lived almost my life thinking you go outward to get inward. It's common sense. You can't do that, because when you go outside, you are actually running in the opposite direction. And the spiritual systems, unfortunately, somehow, I don't know how, but they say going outside, they talk about going in by meditation. But the doer is present in the meditation, and the doer is an outgoer. That is why you will see, even when you sit in meditation, the so-called spiritual practices, you sit in meditation, you are attempting to go inward, but your mind is projecting everything outside. Desires and this want, health, wealth, abundance, prosperity, relationship. So it shows there is a greed of going in also for going out. So it is to serve the outside purposes, we are actually going inside. So it's a very conflicting kind of behavior, which I know only those who are totally hankering behind their self-realization will understand. Because when you start actually experimenting on this, you will come to know. Forget our experiments. Then, if it is the other ways, then all these Mahatmas, the Mahapurushas, all these enlightened beings, like Bhagavan Nityananda or Ramana Maharishi or Nisargadatta Maharaj, they are talking lies then. So forget about what the world does or what our ego mind talks about. Even if you just closely observe all these beings who are not greedy, like Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramana Maharishi, and Bhagavan Nityananda, you look into them because they didn't even own even their loincloths. They had no ownership over that also. So you could see they were absolutely desireless beings. And you can see all these tattvas coming about self-realization are coming from beings who are completely desireless. And that is why Chidakasha Gita again and again beats around the same message that you have to have two things to get towards self-realization: desirelessness, and the other is vairagya, detachment, dispassion. With these two, you can never attain the self. I'm not saying. Do your own research. Do your own research with Chidaakash Gita. Not just that, you go into all the Advaita Tattvas, all the Upanishads that talk towards going towards the self. Experiment with it, and you will realize that we are living in a big illusory world of spirituality, so-called spirituality. And it's very difficult to break through that because for eons we have been programmed. Our minds have been programmed. Even when the approach in spirituality is wrong, and there is so much of power in that spirituality, where people are approaching for something, for a highest realization, that is to attain the highest goal of human life. So, especially when there is trust towards spiritual systems, those systems need to have that kind of a responsibility, because it's a huge responsibility. Because a little miss in this understanding of this tattva can lead you astray and take you in the opposite direction. And we might not even know, because the ego mind is always boosted and enhanced, thinking that what I believe or what the entire mass is doing is true. Because that's the ego consciousness that is running outside, that will look for proof and evidence. And when you look outside, masses, when they are doing, our ego and mind consciousness will accept that this is the truth, whereas it is not the truth. That is why you find very handful number of people who have realized, even in all the modern spiritual societies which are glamorizing the spirituality, you can see there are no self-realized people there. If it really works, then for decades the systems have been around. Why have nobody touched that zone or gone even closer to that zone? Everybody you see is abundant and doing so many things and is flourishing in the outward journey, but you can see they are completely devoid or empty in their inner being. It shows something is wrong. So there are no agendas behind this. It is only when I realize my journey, where am I going, heading, and then when I got very serious into this and started contemplating on the tattvas here in Tirunamalai, and that's what I call grace, the Guru's grace or God's grace, because if you are aligned to the truth, satsanga. Satsanga doesn't mean outside. Satsanga, I am not talking sitting in a group and having discussions. That also is satsanga, but it depends what the group is doing. Are they talking about the Sat? Sat is the truth, the eternal truth. These are the eternal truth, told by great Mahatmas and even in the Shastras, scriptures. Now, scriptures are not everything, but it's an adhara. There is a laid upon some foundational structure which you can always experiment and then accept. I am not talking about believing the scriptures. So, these tattvas are very beautifully aligned, like the place in Arunachala. You will find only this here. You enter Ramana Ashram, you enter the library, everything is beautifully pointing only towards yourself. Nothing about worldly stuff. Nothing. So if somebody wants to perfectly align with the self, there are very few places on earth, and I can vouch Arunachala is that, because it takes you straight towards being. Nothing in the doing. Doing is a catch, and doing boosts our ego consciousness. So if our weakness is in doing, definitely there can be many resources, or there can be so many platforms that can exploit that by showing greed. Because if I have a greed for self-realization, then this outward lures are enough. because that also is a lure. Say, go and enhance your outer world so that you can nourish your inner world. So I take that seriously, because somewhere inside I have the greed, the desires. I am still in the doing mode, not in the being mode. I am still in the want mode, not in the need mode. I want this, I want that. As long as you want realization, you will not get it, because you are still using the desire mode. When you realize that you need self-realization, that is the time when you are from within, the being is giving you the indication it's time to settle down. Want comes from desires. Please understand these two differences. Again, what I am posting is from my post that I put up recently. By doing, you manifest what you want. But by being, you attract what you need. It's very deep. And only those who are interested in self will contemplate on this. The other will find offense in it, or maybe something they might want to reject subconsciously, because suddenly the mind goes into, oh, I shouldn't do anything. How can I be alive without doing anything? It's all possible. For that, you have to settle down in the being first. Settle down is the being. Nischala Tattva. That is what Arunachala, the mountain, symbolizes. The mountain is a symbolic expression of nothing but Shiva consciousness. What is Shiva consciousness? Sthir, still, firm. It's not moving all the time. Chanchal nahi hai, nischal. And aware. You can be only aware when you are centered. You can never be aware when you are shaky. Try it. Whenever we do the practice of shifting into awareness, you can see very clearly, the moment you shift into awareness, you become still. That is the first tattva of awareness. It has to still you. It will still your body, it will still your eyes, all movements it will still. Nischala tattvam. And the moment the mind becomes nischala, the body also becomes nischala. If the mind is chanchala, the body will be chanchala. Means, if my mind is hankering after this, that, I want this, I want this, I want this all the time, it is chanchal. This body will be chanchal. This life will be chanchal. It is always running outside. Like a monkey, which Bhagavan Nityananda says, like a monkey, it is jumping from one branch to other. One day this, one day that, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And he says in a gatika, or in a couple of minutes, in 24 minutes, like a monkey, the mind wants this and this and this and that. I want this, I want that, all the time. So this comes from Chanchala Tattvam. Chanchala is restlessness. Vyakul. Why Vyakul? Too many desires. So many desires can only keep the mind Vyakul. Now we'll understand it is impossible to get into Nischala Tattvam if there are too many desires. It will keep us jumping like a monkey, one thing to the other. And that is why for Nischala Tattvam, why Bhagavan Nityananda says, reduce your desires and annihilate your desires, or dissolve your desires. Why he says is because of this. And that is exactly what Ramana Tattva is talking about. He says, you cannot just annihilate it, destroy it, because who's the destroyer? The ego, the doer. And the more you get into destroying something, you cannot destroy it. It becomes more rigid and more active, more alive. That is why Ramana's Tattvas or Arunachala Tattva, if you see, it is talking of the only final goal of dissolving the mind. Until the mind is dissolved, mind ego is dissolved, you cannot bring Nischala Tattva. Mind ego has to be dissolved. And that is what is Atma Vichara. That is the Jnana Marga. Upadesha Saram is clearly explaining all this. How it begins with doership, the Karma Yogi. Jad Chetan, the Seva Wala. I'll do this, I'll do that. So the doer only now takes on service. I will do service. That this is there. Doership is there. So no problem. That is what has been advised by Upadesha Saram. That get into it. Because you are using that doership to go into the actual journey towards Nischala Tattva. So with lot of doership, you slowly melt the ego, which then turns into bhav, bhakti. And when bhav and bhakti rises, you become devotional. Slowly, all the jad chetan, all this doership of the body will start dropping down. The karma yogi now becomes a bhakta. And then it deepens. As the devotion deepens from external worship to internal worship, from apara bhakti to para bhakti, from bheda bhakti to abheda bhakti, then one is moving from doing to being. All the rituals, external worship is doership. That will settle down into no external stuff, but you are in the being and connecting with that Param Tattva or the Guru Tattva or your Ishta within. And when that happens, you are going towards Nischala Tattva. See how beautiful. And the scripture says, somebody is ready. They enter now into Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is inward. Dhyanas, towards meditation. So the whole journey is now towards meditation. And they become inwardly drawn. Dhyana. Dhyana, the right meaning of dhyana is no thought state. We have hundreds of different dhyanas and hundred of different versions of dhyana. Dhyana means do this, do that, do this, do. No way. Check out Yoga Patanjali Sutras. You check out any other text. You will understand the real meaning of dhyana means no thought state. Do this, do that. We'll have lot of thoughts. So you can see how it's very contradictory. Even our expressions of these words are very contradictory. So when a Raj Yogi becomes inwardly drawn, that is when this person, this being that is inwardly drawn now starts moving into the journey of being. Nischala Tattva happens only when completely you are within, in the no thought state. Why? Nischala has happened. Chanchal mind means too many thoughts, too many vrittis. Chitta vritti nirodha, what Yoga Patanjali Sutra says. When the vrittis nirodha, when they cease, that results in Nischala Tattva. So, a real journey begins there in a Raj Yogi who is a meditator, and Raj Yoga is 100% advised by Chidakasha Gita, Bhagavan Nityananda. He says no other yoga, no Hatha Yoga. He says follow the royal path of Raj Yoga. What is Raj Yoga? Internal yoga of the being. No doership. Hatha Yoga, he says, is duality and doership. Give up Hatha Yoga. So all the pranayamas, all these Hatha Yoga that he says, he is completely discarding in Chidakasha Gita. Give up Hatha Yoga, all that has to do with the body, sustaining the body. He is telling true Raj Yoga is internalizing that breath which you are doing for external body. That is Chidakasha Gita. Internalizing the breath means going more sukshma. It has got to do with the prana, and there are methods that you enhance the prana within. Nothing to prana, nothing got to do with the breath outside, all the breath work. So there also it's been aligned towards Raj Yoga, and when once somebody becomes Nischala, and from there that meditator meditates within, that person is now moving towards self. And the moment somebody is able to be Nischala and constantly meditate on the self for a consistent period of time, Raj Yoga opens up. The jnana, the wisdom explodes. There is the secret. That jnana, even the what you call as the Brahma jnana, the final jnana, all that is within. We wait for something to be given from outside. The Brahma jnana, the Brahma Upadesha. It's all within. But the secret is you can only go and touch it in these format, what Upadesha Saram is perfectly talking about. And when a person is still and completely withdrawn, and when the jnana explodes, all what you are talking here starts being exposed from within. It's just like a volcano, it explodes. And that is precisely what we are doing here. All that in the Jnana Marga Tattva is what I am trying to discuss here for the past few years. And things like Upadesha Saram, Kala Jnana. Study the Kala Jnana. It is Nirlamba Yoga given by Lord Shiva. The final so-called sadhana to do completely in the being, no doership. But that is Nirlamba Yoga, where he says, give up all supportive things, all props. Where he discards even meditation on chakras, meditation on koshas, meditation on anything other than the self. And you hold on to anything, he says, outside even yoga. He says that is Salamba Yoga, which you are going to catch on, support, clinging, all external images. He says, however divine, give it off. And what remains in the end is just the being. All that you need to be clinging is the being, and that is what Ramana has been talking all these years. I couldn't understand clearly until I came to Kala Jnana, which is Devi Kalottara. I've done this webinars. And if you're interested, those videos are there. You can join. You can sign up, register and join. So you can just go to shiftingintoawareness.com/courses. So you have Upadesha Saram there and you have Kala Jnana. Do them. Go through them. They are like 13-14 hours each. So you will need a week approximate to concentrate on. So if you are completely settled, if you are somebody who is looking for Nischala Tattvam and complete inner being, go to these documents. Then there is no need to hanker behind any other scriptures. Like in the Himalayas, I was talking to a Mahapurusha in Gangotri and Uttarkashi. So he told me, he asked me after a lot of discussions, do you know Ramana Maharshi? I said, I'm so eagerly going there. And he said, have you read any time the Upadesha Saram? I said, I was new that time, last 1 year back. I said, I have that document and I'm going through it. He said, you read that document, that's it. Sabhi Shastra usme aa gaya. All the scriptures have come in it. Very profound, very thin and to the point. Sara means only the essence, not the huge vast scriptures. So he says all the vast scriptures are just condensed into that Upadesha Saram. And he said if you read that, that's enough. And this is the mystics of the Himalayas. They say we have come there, we have lived there for every year. We used to come there for 16 years, and we did our meditation there and got in the Upadesha Saram, and from there, that's it, he says. And so the people who are truly interested to go towards the self must go through these. That is if your inner being is calling you for. Otherwise it's not going to. The doers can never reach here. The doers, I want to do this technique, this method, that method, all the kind of doership till it is there, because doership is a byproduct of my want. Want comes from desires. Desires come from greed. Greed comes from my previous vasanas of similar tastes. Are you getting that? Until you understand the root cause of all this, we are just hankering in the superficial understanding of all. And when you are very superficial, when you can't go to the root, anybody can exploit you because you don't have a root. You don't know where it is coming from. Maybe you don't have that understanding or you don't have that eagerness to go within. So if you depend on an external system and if they are not knowing what they are talking about most of the time, whatever understanding they have, it's just a jnana, spreading of knowledge. They have some knowledge, but if you experiment It's very difficult. That is where I oppose even them. However, great Gyanis there, I oppose that because it doesn't make sense. I mean, most of the time it doesn't make sense when you say you do this, do this, do this to go inside. You cannot do and go inside. And with the ego consciousness, you can never be established in self-realization. For that, only marga is to annihilate the ego itself. And that happens when the Jnana Yoga opens. That is what the Jnana Yoga is now talking about, Atma Vichara. Who am I? So that's not Bhagavan Ramana's invention. He had that spontaneously within when he was a child. And he didn't read any Shastras. He constantly began contemplating on who am I? And that actually gave him self-realization in his very young years. And this who am I comes from very old methods of the true methods of what even Bhagavan Ram did. Yoga Vasishta, if you read. Bhagavan Ram was given the Upadesha of who am I? Self-inquiry by Vasishta Mahamuni, his guru. Read it, investigate all these things. You'll know, it's very surprising. And who am I? He asked Bhagavan Ram to contemplate, but before reaching the state of who am I, these processes are there: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, the Raja Yoga, and then finally somebody can settle down into that. You cannot directly bypass. Those who try to directly bypass will have only knowledge, and it's very dry knowledge. And when that foundation is not firm, you can get exploited, or you can just get distracted, thinking this is going towards something Nischala Tattva. No. And you will see, anybody who is a doer cannot be still. It's very difficult. They will be completely Bahadrashti. They might sit still by the power of some practice, or maybe half an hour or 1 hour, maybe that too, not sure. I have never seen anybody completely just sat there and 1 hour completely there. Here you come and sit 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, you can just go into that straight blankness because the Nischala Tattva. Otherwise you can't, because the mind is chanchala. And the problem is we use those meditation to just relax our mind, that's all. And some santwana, some assurance, okay, things are going good. And then 23 hours we are outward, all the time outside. So we are going completely outside, and that enhances and strengthens the ego consciousness and the vasanas of desires of outwardliness. Sanchala Tattvam, it enhances, and that will never make one Nischala. That's how the complication comes. So, that is why so much of importance given to Nischala Tattvam, just through the right conduct, just being in the company of the truth. What is the truth? Your Sat. Your being is the truth. Satsanga means Sat ke Sanga, being aligned with myself, my being, my soul, the eternal being, the eternal truth. So when I am in Satsanga, only I can reach to Nischala Tattvam. That is what Adi Shankaracharya says. Satsangatve Nisangatvam means through satsang, through the company of holy beings or those who are established in the truth or your own truth, whichever you find it better, that is satsang. Through satsang, you attain Nisangatvam. Sang, Nisang. Sang means togetherness. This and that. And what are we? We are always Sang. I want this, I want that. Relationship, all this is Sangha. See, community, Sangha. Community means Sangha, all togetherness. You want all together. Attachment, Moha, all connected together. So he says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam. Through Satsanga, you will attain Nisangatvam, which is detachment. It is Sahaj Vairagya. You don't have to actually give up anything. through proper satsang, all the time being in the proper company of the truth, you will see that untruth is fading out and you will slowly attain Sahaj Vairagya. Dispassion automatically. Without the doership, by being in the being. Satsangatve Nisangatvam. And then he says, Nisangatve Nirmohatvam. That detachment, that sense being of detachment will lead you towards nirmoha. Moha, attachments. The fondness. What you call, moha, what it is. Infatuation. That will destroy your infatuation. See, step by step Adi Shankaracharya is talking about this. Towards becoming Nischala. Bhagavan Nityananda only stresses on Nischala. Shuddha Bhavana, Nirmal Man, Nischal Man. After Nischal Man, Vishal Man, self-realization. You are in everyone. You have a vast mind, merged mind. And then finally when you realize, he says, submit here. So, Nisangatve Nirmohatvam. When you are in Nisanga, when you can attain detachment only, you can attain eventually Nirmohatvam. Free from all the infatuations. Ye mera, me and mine, me and mine. My people, my lover, my husband, my wife, my children, my this, all these things. Oh, now is the point. Now when this point comes, it is very dangerous. You mean I got to get disconnected with all these things? So, do you mean self-realization and mukti, moksha means you are going to take all this sangha towards with you? The whole lot? Whatever you are infatuated with? No way. That is why Nityanand Bhagavan says, Vairagya is needed until you detach from the things and the people and places and ideas and concepts that you love so much. No moksha, no self-realization. You cannot have. It's opposite. So we are just goody, man ko behkar hai. We are just keeping ourselves entertained, thinking that we can take all these things together and attain that. I am not saying it. Investigate. And I am giving you enough evidences for that. So Bhagavan Ramana also, who am I? All this was within him. Only after he came to Arunachala after 19-20 years, when Shastras came in front of him, he had never read any Shastra. But when his disciples brought Shastras, Gurudev, what is this? Explain. And when he is looking, he is able to understand everything in the Shastras because that's happening in his being. And that is when he explained all these tattvas and brought out only those tattvas which are needed. So, I can relate with this because these kind of feelings I always had from within. I didn't know. And always my mind was in conflict. Whenever I used to see something opposite, I used to not understand how can this go there. But since I didn't know it, I was just blindly following things. But that inner conflict became deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and one day it repelled. It stood up for it. And then I started hunting for what the truth is. What is this thing about? And when I came to Arunachala, all these things opened up. And I said, this is what I always believed in. That gave me conviction. And that gave me a sense of peace and freedom. I said, oh my God. What I was in doubt, I have clarity now. So these Shastras, these Mahapurushas, these kind of tattvas only emphasize on what is the truth, which already you know. So whatever I am talking right now, those who are aligned with that truth, those who are ready for that will catch it and they will know, yes, I also knew this from within, but now since you are talking, I have an assurance. And I am not talking just out of something, I am talking from my experience as well as what is there in the scriptures, what these Mahapurushas have talked about. It makes a lot of sense. Lot of sense. So, what Adi Shankaracharya says is Satsangatve Nisangatvam Nisangatve Nirmohatvam Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam. Nirmoha, the state of nirmoha, when you are away from all this infatuation, me and mine and this and that, belongingness, everything, obsession and possession, everything you are done with slowly. It's a casual process. How is the casual process? First you have to be in satsanga, constantly with people who are imbibing this truth. Or if you can't, if you have the ability to sit directly with your satsanga, great. If not, then take the company of those who are in the presence of truth, is what says. Satsangatve nisangatvam. Then you will attain automatic detachment from this world, which is otherwise difficult through the doing. You cannot give up. Very difficult. So it's an eventual process, it's not immediate. So it's like a preparation. Through satsanga you attain nisangatvam. Through nisangatvam, that is detachment, you attain nirmohatvam, that is freedom from infatuation, me and mine. So most of the work is done. So Bhagavan Nityananda, what he says, Vairagya and desirelessness, these both come in this state, nirmohatvam. That is why it is said, Adi Shankaracharya further said, nirmohatve nischalatatvam. Now you become still. Now you are in the being. Now we can talk about self. Otherwise it's only mental entertainment, spiritual entertainment. You have to reach to that state. You have to build up that environment within you, around you, to make things nischala. And once you are in that space, only from there we can talk about beingness. From self-realization and all that, actual, practical talks are from that, nischala tattvam. Till nischala tattvam happens, there is no chance. And then finally he says, nischala tattve jivana mukti. That's the final state. When you enter into that nischala tattvam, there you have jivana mukti, that you have self-realization, there you have mukti, moksha. And you see the sequence. That is why in Yoga Vasishtha, Satsanga is given importance. Out of the 4 major pillars, Satsanga is given the most importance. So, just repeating the whole thing. Adi Shankaracharya's words. Satsangatve nisangatvam nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischalatatvam nischalatatve jivana mukti. This is nischalatattva, Arunachala. Nischala, unshaking mountain, sthir, firm in its resolution. Just there, present, unmoving, unwavering, still, not restless, still, and purely aware. It's a conscious thing. He is completely conscious, completely aware, only aware as a drishta, witnessing everything. That's why you come here. As much as possible, come here. Do your practices here, on the mountains, around the mountains, in Ramanashram. Read the text here. Bring a Nischala Tattvam by coming here. How does Nischala Tattva come? See how beautifully these are all aligned. Until, what makes us not Nischala? What is it that prevents Nischala? Chanchala. What is it that is Chanchala? The ego mind. The ego and mind, keep it always Chanchala. Why? Because all the time mind has desires this and that. The possession, me and mine, infatuation, it will always keep you Chanchala. Nischala will not happen. So, eradication of body consciousness will bring you Nischala Tattvam. Because that is a root problem. Body consciousness, the I, the ego. And what is this hill? Annihilator of the ego. That is why this hill is known as the destructor of ego. You read it, experiment, investigate. You will find The tattva of this hill is the Manipuraka. The Agni Lingam is here. Arunachala is Agni Lingam. What is Agni Lingam? Manipura Chakra, ego. Manipura is I, the go-getter. See, Rajas. Manipura means Rajas. All the sadhanas, all the practices that is done through this chakra. The doership, power, Shakti, get this, get that, become this, become successful, become great, attain immortality of the body. It's all Kaya. It's all trying to expand and sustain and grow this I. Agni, Manipura, Rajas. And what we are talking is moving from Rajas towards Sattva Guna, Sattva Tattvam, and to go towards Sastat. What is Sattva? Nischala. What is Rajas? Chanchala. Body consciousness. Ego. And that is why this is Agni Tattva. This burns that ego. You come to Arunachala once and the ego consciousness, body consciousness activates the destruction of body consciousness. The I, that is it, that starts annihilating eventually. Because that's the work of this Tattva. So those who come here are those people who are destined for self-realization. The hill attracts only the people who are ready for Jnana Marga. Here. I was reading in the train yesterday. Arunachala invites Jnana Marga sadhaks. It says, Tiruvannamalai by itself is reputed as the hill that invites Jnana sadhakas, and many are the people who have attained liberation here. Lord Shiva ordained that the residents within a radius of 30 miles of the hill shall by itself be sufficient to burn off all the defects and effect the union of the individual soul with the Supreme, even without initiation. Even those who do not have a guru, those who do not have initiation, if they just take the shelter of this place, Shiva promises that this in 30 miles radius around this hill is powerful enough if you spend time here to annihilate the ego and body consciousness, even without initiation. These are there in the scriptures. Sri Bhagavan, means Ramana Maharshi, used to express that there are several Siddha Purushas inhabiting the hill. Sri Parvati Devi, sages Gautama and Durvasa did their tapas here in olden days, and their ashramas still exist. A good number of men and women who have been used to meditate during Sri Bhagavan's time continue their sadhana here, and they are disinclined to leave this place, and if they do, they feel like fish out of water, eagerly wanting to come back. I completely agree with this. Completely agree, because I have seen this in my life. Cannot be away from this place for long. It pulls you. It's just like you cannot, the seekers of self-realization cannot be away from their self for long. Even if you go into the Vishaya Vasanas. One is Sadvasana, you go inside. Vishaya Vasana is outside. So even if you get the pull outside, and if you are constantly be pulled into the world, not for long, you will see again you want to contemplate on the self. The people who anchor in these groups that we have created here and shifting into, they are people who constantly want to anchor in the self. So even if they are outwardly, if they go out into the world, do this and that, they cannot stay there for long. They have to come with it. There is something, they miss something, they want to come back and align with that Satsanga, Satke Sangha. So this place is that, what Ramana is talking here. Even if you leave from here, you are inclined to come back. And I fully agree with it. So, I was motivated to do this video because the moment I put this doing and being post, I got a reply from one of an intent seeker Shubhodayam Bhaiya. By doing through our being, our want will only be our need. Now what is this? This is justification. By doing through our being, our want will only be our need. Means we are trying to now justify that doing is okay. See how difficult, how dangerous it is for the mind ego. Immediately it will react. Huh? You mean give up doing? No. Now let me justify something. So the mind cooks up something. And the mind says, by doing through our being, our want will only be our need. I am saying want is justified. It is my need. What are you talking about? Want is different, need is different. My need is what my want is what my need is. And my doing is also through the being. But it's a very intellectual kind of words, but it doesn't make sense. It's again in conflict. I'll go into it. And then the person says, because anyways we have to do something to survive in this world. So anyways we have to do something to survive in this world. To survive, dear one, you need not have to do. You just can be, because to survive, what do you need? Now go into see what the word I use. What do you need to survive? Shelter, food, air, water, money. Okay. Enough to survive. Money means what? I already talked about shelter, food, water. So money is ruled out here because money buys these things. And now we are assuming we have a shelter, we are assuming we have the food and water and air. This is what we need to survive. And you said, because anyways we have to do something to survive in this world. Here we are talking about what do we need actually to survive. These are the things that you need. Now, compare and see. For these things, how much do we actually go and do something else? Means all the doing is coming from the want. What do I need? These simple food, water, air, shelter. And what do I do when I go into doing? That need will now convert into wants. That is desire. That is where the greed takes place. More than what you need, when you go outwardly, that turns into wants. Wants come from doing, doership. Doership is needed to fulfill the wants. Now, to survive, this much is needed. Now, what will a doer say? I need a car. I need a big house. I need all variety of foods. I need water along with that juices, all kind of beverages. That includes beer also or liquor also, everything. Food includes non-veg, all the fast foods, everything comes in it. Now what we have added? Now we will justify we are doing this because we want all this. No. Want is something extra than what you need. What you need to survive, because you said here. Because anyhow we have to do something to survive. And if you see now, survival is needing only this. Rest all is our desires and wants and greeds coming out of our vasanas of that extra comfort, extra pleasures. So, this is how our mind justifies. I am not judging you or anything. I have taken this up as a topic because I know most of our minds run into this. Why doing? Why being? And then we justify, no, doership is needed. That is how glamour spirituality is justifying doership is needed. You need to do this to attain everything. So those who are outwardly already having this want instead of need, they will easily get attracted to this philosophy. Oh yeah, because I am a doer, I am a go-getter. I want this, I want that in the world. Now in spirituality also, I want this, I want that. I want self-realization. And then the person also says, please correct me. Thanks, Bhaiya. So that last line also, please correct me, itself is a knowing that your subconscious knows that something is wrong in it. So you are asking, please correct also. But this is a life of awareness, what I am trying to tell you. Dear ones, when you have sharp discrimination, your viveka, buddhi, you can discriminate, which Bhagavan Nityananda again and again talking, develop subtle discrimination. Sukshma discrimination you should be able to do. How? Through your awareness. Your awareness will catch all the minor things also which the ego mind will just dodge. So here it will justify very easily. So it's so nicely to say by doing through our being. How can you do through your being? Being is Nischala. Do is Chanchala. How can the Chanchala become the Nischala? Or get anything done through the Nischala? Nischala means you cannot enter there. It is like darkness and the light. Where light goes, darkness will just evaporate. The doership will evaporate. Doership cannot be there. And only the being is there. And when the being is there, where is doer there? There is no point. So this is very highly conflicting. By doing through our being. Impossible. These are all, I think, modern spirituality terms. So you need to investigate. What we are talking right now is investigation. Not just blindly believing something. You should have an Adhar, foundation to it. At least even if you can't investigate or experiment within, you should have the discrimination to sit and do chintan. And manthan. Churn your mind through this intellectual understanding itself at least. You will understand there is no intellectual understanding of these things also. And when you go to experiment, it's impossible. It's very funny, all these things. And so, later after some time, another message came because there was no reply to this. When we trust our needs are always taken care of and we don't have to do anything for it, then our doing, that is the Shakti, merges with the being, that is Shiva. Then doing stops and being takes over. Now, the first one was completely a false one. It doesn't work there. So when the reply to, I'm just talking about the mind psychology, okay? Please don't get me wrong. You learn a lot if you are humble enough to just investigate what I am telling. You learn a lot. A lot of things will open up. Or rather than reacting, oh, why? What are you talking about? I didn't mean this and all that. Don't get offended. So first, when the doing and being that you said by doing through our being and all that, the reply didn't come for a long time. Then probably my understanding that person contemplated. Oh, maybe something is wrong. So inside ourself knows it is wrong, and then this person contemplated. So after a couple of minutes, now a better version of that same message got converted, and it's a beautiful message. Now it says, when we trust that our needs are always taken care of and we don't have to do anything for it, then our doing, that is the Shakti, merges with the being, that is Shiva. Then the doing stops and the being takes over. Perfect. Now we have a point. See why did this not come first? Because first the mind, the cunning mind, the doer mind. No, it's a reaction. It gets triggered. I know many will get triggered in this. I saw 11 people came up, and when they were talking about doer, they ran away. These can never move towards self because it's very difficult. You get triggered and you can't stay there. So that's why I'm telling this is only for ripe and mature souls who have the courage to go through it. That is what they are referred to as ripe and mature. That is why Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi constantly says Upadesha Saram is only for ripe souls, and he has nothing to do. He did not give this Upadesha to everybody. There were thousands of people who came here, even when he was there in the physical body. He didn't give Upadesha Saram to everybody. He even said, okay, you want mantra? You are fascinated by mantra? He gave a mantra. He gave even mantras like, because people are acquainted with that. I need mantra, Upadesha. So give me Diksha. They came to Ramana Maharshi, give Diksha, and he never gave Diksha to anybody. But there are many instances where he used to only gaze, look at the person eye to eye. Even some people have reported, even in the text, like 1.5 hour, even without food, he used to just watch and look into the eyes of that person. That is the initiation happening through silence, which is considered the highest Diksha. Diksha that is given in through gaze and silence. There is a transfer that's taking place. But this did not happen to everybody. Only those who are ready were gifted and blessed to get that. And after that, people reported many things happening to them. But not all were ready. Some said mantra, we need a mantra, because they are still not in that form. So if it is, they are not ripe enough, he gave a mantra. What mantra? Not any Ishta and all that. Simple mantra like Naham Deham Koham Soham. Naham Deham. I am not the body. Deham Naham. Naham Deham. Then the question is, if Naham Deham, then Koham. Then who am I? Koham means who am I? Then answer is Soham. I am that. So he had very beautiful ways of giving mantras also. Okay, you like all this mantra? Take this mantra. Naham Deham Koham Soham. Naham Deham Koham Soham. Naham Deham. Ultimately, he was a no-nonsense person. He used to take back straight towards the self. Not interested in anything, because otherwise you'll get caught up in another some Ishta and all that. You'll get, if it is a mantra, Lakshmi mantra, you'll get caught up in that, and then your vasanas, you'll go outside. So, the mantras that he gave also was to annihilate. Naham Deham. Burn that ego consciousness, body consciousness. Isn't that beautiful? So, when this person says, when we trust that our needs will be taken care of, that is what I was exactly talking. You can manifest whatever you want, but you need doership in that. That is when the philosophy of creation comes. I can create whatever I want. I can manifest anything I want. That is outward run. For that you need a doer. Without doer you can't. Check it out. You have to sit and I want that. But that has to come to me. There is a me here that is going to bhog that. The vasana there. I want to fulfill that desire, ichha. So the me will create that. And the mind creates anything. Anything you focus, it will create. So it is very simple. If your mind is focused on creation, it cannot focus on the self, which is annihilation of the creation. Can you see the conflict? Utpatti and Nasha. When we are talking about the creator, Brahma, he creates. Create is outward. And who is the destroyer? The Shiva Tattva. Destroys, because Shiva, the being, it pulls back. So you have to actually annihilate the creation. It's in the opposite direction. And when we say, I can create whatever I want, manifest whatever, where am I running? I'm running outward. Opposite of inward. The Srishti Chakra and the Sanghar Chakra of Sri Vidya. One triangle down, one triangle moves upward. The upward is going inward, Urdhva. And downward is Adho. This is creation. The Srishti Chakra. It creates downward. And this is the Sanghar Chakra. It moves upward. So if you are wanting to be a creator, manifesting this and that, Adho, it's a downward pull. You create. See the semen that we have. The semen, Swadhisthana Chakra, lust, desire, lust. when it moves downwards means the ejaculation, it is trying to procreate a child creation more outside. Me and mine belonging. It is trying to get a desire moving outward. But Urdhureta, you can see what Osho used to explain, sex to samadhi. So it is the sexual energy is sublimating upwards through the Sushumna, upwards. Why? Urdhureta, it is not towards creating, it doesn't create now. Now it is moving towards annihilation, the opposite direction, Sanghara. It is going to liberate now. If this funda is clear, you will understand what is doing. And this being means not doing. The whole run is because you are doing, all the time creating. So if you stop creating, neutral gear is the being, Nischalta. Yeah. Nischal means not doing anything. Doing begins means Chanchal begins. And this will become Chanchal. And what we try to do? We try to get into meditation. What is Nischal? With all this doership, will you think you will be able to settle down into Nischalta? That is why the Shastras and Bhagavan Nityananda said, desirelessness is needed, Vairagya is needed. Desireless means Chanchalta, always creating this and that. So it has to settle down. And Vairagya means detachment. Until you are Daud Bhage, me and mine, all this infection, Moha, it has to become Nirmoha. Nisangatvam. Then only that Nischaldatvam will come. And then we can talk further. Then baad mein ki baat. The self-realization, moksha and all is all after that. Till that there is no talk only. Because outside we are talking inside. That is why we have this conflict. That 1 hour also in meditation we sit going outward only. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. In creation. Where is the time to go inside? There is no inside. You are building, enhancing that ego, mind relationship with this vasanas. You are only building it up. So there is no annihilation. Even if you do any technique and annihilate those desires, but it is not enough, because most of the time what you heal, what you dissolve is so less. You might dissolve, let's say 10 vasanas, a little bit here and there, in that half an hour or 1 hour. But the 23 hours of that return of that pull that you have again back into that, it re-emphasizes, it brings it up, it strengthens. So it's like saying, I build a big strong house and then go on destroying it. Why build it? I build it because of that greed. I want a big house. Is that the need? No. Shelter means even a normal simple one will do. That will still sustain me. For the purpose of living my life purpose, that is enough to sustain me. That is being in the limits of that desire. So when you are in the being, see, all the people who lived in the caves and all these kind of shelters are being people. They also need shelter. But wherever their being takes us, they are happy in that. Whatever that being provides them, that is what they are happy with. Because to sustain their body, of course, they need food. And whatever food they need, that anna, that is not out of want again, greed. I want chicken tandoori, I want that pav bhaji, I want this tikka, that tikka, and all that extravagant foods that comes from our want, greed, vasanas. And you look at the yogis, bhikshuks, whatever they get, one patra, they will beg and eat to sustain this. Who's telling you don't need to sustain? Who's telling no, how I cannot survive without doing, how it can be? These are people with need. Whatever they need, they are doing. So you don't have to become a monk or a bhikshu, but at least you can understand this tattva. Suddenly, that running towards greed and vasanas will drop. Then whatever little you have in that also, you can have abundant life. Abundance is contentment. People have a very wrong idea of abundance and prosperity. So somebody was telling me, one coach was telling me about abundance. All the time, abundance, create abundance and hey, if you have a life, you have to create abundance. You be abundant. Why be stingy? I said, I've seen so many people who are abundant, so-called abundant and prosperous, and they're stingy from inside. Their life is so stingy. Even physically, they won't give anything. That's another. They have everything, they have hoarded everything, but they will not part with it, with anyone needy. And they are stingy even in their soul consciousness. Because that's a tattva, what you live in. You become that. So being abundant is not that. And I said, there are people whom I have seen who have very little and are 1,000 times more abundant than these stingy ones. From inside they are extravagant, prosperous, abundant. That's blessing of Mahalakshmi. Mahalakshmi doesn't mean this rokda all the time. Everybody thinks Mahalakshmi means rokda. Mahalakshmi means abundance, peaceful abundance, prosperity. I've seen yogis who live such an abundant life. Koi cheez ki kami nahi. Even in Himalayas I met them. One Mahapurusha told me, I said, how we all are sitting here? And these people are trying to reach you all these basic necessities and all. Somehow they are struggling to come at least 2 times in a year, and how everything difficult it is managed. He laughed and he said, do you think these people are bringing it? He said, what we need comes to us. So beautifully said. Ganga Maya koi cheez ki kami nahi karti. Ganga Maya means where they live on the banks of the river. They have so much of trust in her. The her means not the river itself, that tattva, that godliness, supreme. वो बोले कि the other side said this, not those Mahapurushas. So when I came and told this Mahapurusha who was supplying this to them, said yes. He said, we are not these doers. Because if the mother is seeing her child sitting on the bank of river hungry, that force will run and manifest it for them. That force I can feel, he says. What I am doing, the order of mother, go there. So I don't ask anything. We just do this, seva or whatever you call it. So we know we are not doing it. There is some force that's taking care of them. See both sides. The perfect yogis, perfect understanding of surrender, the need, what we are talking here, being. That person sitting there also is in the being, knows that what has to reach will reach. This person who's supplying also knows that I am doing my dharma, I am not doing anything. It's my offering that's going through these actions. I'm not no doership. Something is commanded, there's a pull that takes me there. This is how the spiritual world survives and thrives, and this is abundance. And na uske paas kami hai, na inke paas kami hai. Abundance I saw. They are abundant. Not in things and things. Whatever they need, it is there. Even if it is one sack of rice, which they might need only little, they eat. But that is abundance for them because they are tripped with that. But it reaches them. And these people whom they reach also, koi kami nahi. Abundantly things reach them. This is the law of nature. See how beautiful this tattva is. And from there only, this thought came to my mind and I wrote that day. By doing, you can manifest whatever you want in this world. That is greed. So-called, I want this, I want that. Creator. I manifest all the time. Law of attraction, blah, blah, blah. But many people were confused. Oh, I have families. Last time in the retreats that I had, I have families. How do you say these things? I have so many things to take care of. That when you take so many, you feel responsible that you are the responsible doer in the family, then you got to take all that responsibilities. You got to run around. Fulfilling. Because now you are the doer. No? You take all the headache. And that also will say, okay, you are the doer, no? Do. We will not interfere, or I will not interfere, or that tattva will not interfere. You do. When the doership gives up doing, the being takes over, which I just gave Mahagangi's example. It takes over. I was reading this also, I think it's there here beautifully. The householder's surrender. In Panchadasi, Dhyana Deepika, it is said that he who has in several previous births done motiveless actions, actions without any motive, without any doership, dedicated to God, becomes ripe for self-inquiry, is then desirous of practicing Atma Vichara, that is self-inquiry. Says, this Atma Vichara or self-inquiry, whoever has a hankering towards self and wants to know the self, who am I and all that, is nothing but the outcome, the karma phala of the previous birth in which motiveless actions have been done dedicated to God. When you dedicate, like what I am saying this, how the yogis live, even the dharma, what they are doing, we are not doing, no doership. So, when somebody has done this way, only this tattva can activate. This Panchadasi mein, it is written in the Panchadasi, Dhyana Deepika. The Bhagavad Gita also emphasizes motiveless action leading to jnana and then liberation. See here, Bhagavad Gita also is telling all these motiveless action will lead you to jnana marga, where it will open up, and then from there is the path towards liberation. That is why that yogi in the Himalayas told me, all the methods, all sadhana, all tapas, all upasana, everything that is done in various different spiritual techniques and paths can only lead to Chitta Shuddhi. What is Chitta Shuddhi? Nirmal Man. From there what happens? Nischal Man comes. So all these paths are only taking you to purify your Chitta. From where you have the next step, that is Nischala Tattvam. From Nischala Tattve Jivana Mukti. From there, when you become Nischal only, the Gyan Marga opens and the self-inquiry begins. Who am I? I want to do Chintan. And when you go into self-inquiry, what happens is the phenomena, you are abiding more in the self, more and more in the self, and the more you are in the self, you are not in your mind ego. When you are not in your mind ego and you abide in the self, what happens is Mano Nasha begins. The destruction of the mind ego starts beginning, and that is the end of the mind. Chidakasha Gita is talking, Jnanis are mindless, it begins with that, and the aim of Chidakasha Gita is to destroy the mind. Paths and techniques don't destroy the mind, they can only give you Chitta Shuddhi, what was confirmed by the Himalayan yogi who told me. Everything can only give you Chitta Shuddhi. From Chitta Shuddhi, when the man becomes Nischala, then you turn within. All the Apara Bhakti will fade out, Para Bhakti will begin. Everything outside will start diminishing. Outside deity, outside guru, outside forms, outside worship, everything outside will become inner. That is what Ramana said. The outer guru will lead you to the inner guru. This is that stage. That inner guru, Jnana, Utpan. From within, then the Atma Bodha, towards Atma Bodha, the self-inquiry begins, who am I? And there it leads to moksha, because moksha means this I has to go. This creator, this doer has to go. And only in Atma Chintan that will start happening. That is the Jnana Marga. I told you, explain to you Upadesha Saram how it explained. All this makes so accurately, crystal clear sense in the whole spiritual journey. That is why I said you must do Upadesha Saram if you want to know what are the stages of spiritual evolution, where a seeker begins and where it ends, and how these processes unwind and what leads to what. And you will also come to know where are you standing in this path, in this whole journey. Where have you reached? Otherwise, you have no clue where you are. You ask anybody, where have I reached? What more is there? What should I give up and what should I take on new? No idea. Confusion. There is no clarity only. In most what all the paths there are no clarity. This clarity will come only when this Atma Jnana utpanna hota hai. So it's a blessing if somebody has activated the Jnana from within, if they can educate others, if they can guide others to lead them towards these kind of tattvas. That is why I am inviting you. Come here. Spend as much time. The people have multiplied here. Previously, I used to see 1-2 people reading the blogs and coming here sometime. Now there are hundreds of people repeatedly coming and doing their practices and understanding the tattva and having deepening experiences here. Going very, very deep. So that's progress. And I say you must always have gati. Evolution must be there. Where there is no gati, there is something gadbad. You have to investigate what is it in me that is not giving me gati. Gati is very, very visible. It's very tangible. People who have come here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they can see gati. They can see the clarity, their lives opening, the nischala tattvam coming, the inwardness coming, the all exterior things, interest going, the doership and the desires falling, the sahaj vairagya coming. That is gati. That is progress on the path. So, whatever we do, we must progress. We must evolve. That is why my prayers always, you see, whenever we end, it is like, may we all evolve, may we all liberate. All of us. No partiality. This person should go first, that person should go first, you are not here, that should. No. Everybody. When Buddha gave his preachings, which is what I did, the latest webinar, good, there were 60 to 65 people who registered it. And from all over the world. Apo Deepo Bhava. Activating the inner light within. Otherwise there is clinging all the time. Clinging to this person, this thing, that God, this faith, that practice. All the time clinging and becoming helpless. So this tattva is about activating the inner light. Apo Deepo Bhava, what Buddha said to his disciples. Now, you become your own light. And they were disappointed. Because they were all clingers. They said, you are leaving? What's new in that? What's new in Buddha leaving? Every Buddha with the body will have to leave. They were shocked because they were all clinging to the body. And they all felt disappointed. The body is no more going to be there. And that is why when Buddha said, Apo Deepo Bhava. Be a light unto yourself or be your own light. And they said, we have followed you for 40 years, Master. 40 years we followed you and now you say this. And Buddha said, I am also surprised. 40 years you have followed me and you have not got the message yet. The message always was, Apo Deepo Bhava, be your own light. Be independent. Be free from all the clingings. See how deep it is. Clinging is the problem. And Apo Deepo Bhava is Kala Jnana. Nirlamba Yoga. Devikalotra. What we did twice. If you want, you can still go there. And the courses are available. Register and do that. 13-14 hours. Completely you will understand what Shiva is talking. This tattva. Nirlamba. Give up all attachment. Give up all support systems. And become independent only on yourself. That is Nirlamba Yoga. Anything other that you are doing is Salamba Yoga. All other clinging, Salamba Yoga. And Shiva doesn't advise that to ripe soul. There also it is written, only for ripe soul. This is not for everybody. It is there mentioned there. When Shiva is talking to Parvati, he is saying, it is only for mature, ripe souls who have now ascertained and settled. Who are the ripe souls? Who can listen to what I am saying? If you are listening till here, you are that. Otherwise you can't listen, they will run away. That's unripe, not yet ready for it. So those who are ready is the one who is ready to get down into this. And for them is Nirlambha Yoga. They will have little inhibition because they are still, the vasanas of clinging is there. So Nirlambha Yoga gives them confidence. It's truth. Buddha gave them confidence. Apo Deepa Bhava, be your own light. You'll never find in the worldly systems these things, because everywhere you see they will cling to me, cling to us, cling on to this, cling on to that. No living. Nobody is going anywhere. You're going to be here for eternity, clinging on to all these things, which I do not agree, because my heart and soul doesn't agree with it, nor does this Shastras agree with it. So you can see it's a big catch. So finally, I'll just wind up with this, the tattva that we are talking about, because 5% battery man also. Thank you, whoever wrote this message. It brought me a deep understanding that I should clarify this and bring deeper understanding. And then finally, after a few minutes when I didn't answer further, the person again wrote another message. As I understand, this is a big leap. Once we enter into that zone, we will be absorbed by it. For now, I am in my doing. This is beautiful. It is good to accept that, okay, I am still in that, stuck in it. The doership is stuck. Instead of justifying, oh, by doing only I am nourishing my being. It's all nonsense. Now the proper understanding has come that, okay, I am still in my doing. For now I am in my doing. Being a little is there here and there. Good. Being is there. This is proper. This is authenticity. This is honesty, sincerity. This is the life of awareness. You become completely aware of the truth, and then you say, finally she says, I trust I will be blessed to shift into the being. Yes, you will be blessed. If you have this much of courage to accept that I am here, still work is there, that work will be taken care of, that being. A little surrender is needed to that. Come here to these kind of tattvas, contemplate more on these kind of tattvas, that also will happen. From the doing, you will go into the being. So, Arunachala, Tirunamalai is all about getting into the being. See, at that state, there is no prayer also. When you get more into the being, the doing is prayer. Prayer is begging. God give me this, God give me that. Guru give me this, Guru give me that. Even you go to the Guru, fall at the feet, you want something. Health, wealth, success, relation, something is there. Swartha Bhakti. Selfish Bhakti it is called. Which Bhagavad Gita, Chidakasha Gita, Upadesha Saram says give up. And go into Para Bhakti. Unconditional love, unconditional Bhakti, nothing needed. That is a real Bhakti. So, a person who is moving into being will see that doership is not there. There is no will to even create. They are in the being, and when they come into that zone, whatever is needed, life will start bringing them. I have seen this in my own life. With conviction I can say, whatever is needed, life will supply you with that. You need not have to worry about it. Being in the being is everything. You don't have to go and create this. You want a car will come to you. You want a house will come to you. You want a relation, it will come to you if it is needed for you. You don't have to go and create, I need a big house, I need a big car, I need a vast, I need this kind, I need that relationship. That is all your vasanas. That can only end up in trouble. So if it is needed, life will provide you. If it is not needed, Teri raza mein meri raza. That is the beautiful state of Nischala Tattvam. You are happy with whatever comes your way. Teri raza mein meri raza. Jo Shivagya. Jis vidhi rakhe us vidhi rahi. So here I was reading yesterday, beautiful. I'll end with this. Lord Krishna says, I take over the interest and welfare of those who worship me as their inner self. Bhagavad Gita 9-22. 9th chapter, 22 verse. Though there is a deeper meaning for this verse, the above is sufficient here. If any attempt is made by the Nirguna Upasaka, the one who is now established in the being, if any attempt also is made by this kind of a being person in his advanced stage to pray for anything for himself or his dear ones also, he is foiled in that attempt. He is unable to even pray for himself, give me this or give my loved ones this. He fails. Nirguna Upasaka, the ones who are in the being, the ones who are in needing nothing. And then he says, for just then the mind stands stock still, unable to formulate one word, because he is trying to pray and the mind freezes. You can't pray, give me. Haini, the tendency is not there, greed is not there. With this frustration is experienced when this frustration is experienced 2 or 3 times, so the seeker, when they go through this frustration, I want to create, but it's not happening, it's not coming. Give me this for myself, give me this for my loved one, it's not coming. So when this frustration is experienced 2-3 times, then that person's prayer becomes, oh Lord, thy will be done. So beautifully it's said here. And it's quoting Lord Krishna saying, I take over the interest and welfare of those who worship me as their inner self. He takes care of the welfare. So, if anybody is telling me, like many people tell me, for you it is easy to do. For me, I have so much of responsibility, I have to take care. I have to take care. That I is there. I am responsible for take care. Then Krishna will not interfere. Lord will not interfere. You take care. But the moment you come into this state of Nirguna Upasana, then you are like, what can I ask? Whatever you are given and you are providing. It is not tamas, please, disclaimer. It is not that I am a lazy person, so I will not do anything and I will just believe that God will. No, this is never a lazy person. This is a person who is very spontaneous, and if there is a pull from within to go and do something, they will do. But there is no doing in that. Such a person is always energetic and always working. Sattvic, and there is a spirit of work also. There is karma yoga. Their karma yoga is there, but the doership is not there. So wherever the pull is there, they will do something and it will create for them. Even in my example, I have seen this, my life. I don't have to sit desiring something. If there is an inward pull for me to do something and I feel that's my dharma and I do it without attachment to that, I see everything comes to me from that. So this is even my profession in one way. It generates even whatever I need, even the money or whatever I need to create. But I don't have to run behind it. It happens when it stills down. So multiple ways the Lord takes care of everybody. In all different, everybody's scenario is different. So it's all about, today what I talked about is Nischala Tattva, coming to the Nischala Tattva. And if come more and more to Tiruvannamalai, come more and more to Arunachala, stay more and more near, in and around the Samadhi and place of Bhagwan Ramana, and you will see things will happen. So with this I take your leave. May we all evolve, may we all be blessed. Much divine love and light to all of you. Om Purnamidam Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Arunachala Shiva.